Number 3. Attila Ban. Tibor Vass and Alice Adams worked as receptionists at the Radisson Edwardian Heathrow Hotel in London, England. Adams was 20 years old and described as popular and fun-loving. Her family said she touched the hearts of everyone she ever met. She was also a talented musician and was interested in performing arts. She took the job at the hotel to provide financial aid to her mother. She was from Iverheath, Buckinghamshire. In early August 2011, she had only been working at the hotel for about 3 weeks. Tibor Vass was also 20 years old, and he had moved to London from Hungary. His mother said that her son had fallen in love with the free spirit of London. Together, the 20-year-olds worked with 32-year-old Attila Ban, another receptionist from Hungary. Ban was well liked in his job. Customers voted him Employee of the Year in 2010. He was considered a workaholic, and he had worked similar jobs in the hotel industry. In the summer of 2011, Ban, who was openly gay, developed feelings for Vass. However, Vass was straight and did not return the feelings. In fact, he had started dating Adams. Ban became obsessed with Vass. He manipulated his managers into letting him share a hotel-owned apartment with Vass. There were problems after the two men started living together. Ban would have outbursts when his peers excluded him from social events and we saw Vass with women. When Ban learned that Vass was moving back to Hungary to attend university, he was devastated. But Ban tried to stay positive. On August 9, 2011, Ban had a party in the apartment that he shared with Vass to celebrate his starting university in Hungary. Vass, Ban, and Adams hung around the apartment as the party died down. The trio took amyl nitrates, also known as poppers, and then they had a threesome. None of them reported to work the next day. Other staff members became concerned, so they called the police. The police forced their way into Ban and Vass's apartment and discovered the new dead body of 20-year-old Tibor Vass on a double bed. Vass had been stabbed twice, one that pierced his heart. It was later discovered that Ban had cut off his clothes, bathed with his body, and then posed his body on the bed. They also found the dead body of 20-year-old Alice Adams in the living room with a pillow covering her face. She had been stabbed 22 times. The police also found multiple bloodied kitchen knives in the apartment. The police immediately suspected that 32-year-old Attila Ban was responsible for the carnage. The problem was they couldn't find him. They checked Ban's social media accounts. Hours after they believed the murders were committed, Ban wrote a cryptic post to his Facebook account. He wrote that he would like to wake up from this nightmare. 2 days after the bodies were found, a forensic examiner noticed that the door to the apartment where the murders were committed was closed, but they had left it open. Officers entered the apartment and found Ban on the bed. He was naked and drunk. He had a knife embedded in his arm, and another knife was embedded in his buttocks. Ban had also slit his wrists, but his injuries were not life-threatening. He had also dropped a hairdryer in the bathtub as he sat in it, but he said that the hairdryer kept working and didn't electrocute him. He had cut a hole in the base of the divan bed and climbed into it. He hid there for 2 days. This included when the police removed the bodies and processed the crime scene. He drank from a stash of bottled water he had in the bed. He also held onto a knife. When he needed to, he urinated and defecated inside the base of the bed. He watched the police from slits in the fabric and moved around at night when the guards left. Of course, the police were surprised to find him in the apartment. They initially suspected he jumped out of a window and ran away. When the police interviewed him, he pretended he couldn't speak from the shock. Ban pleaded guilty to manslaughter based on diminished responsibility. "I accept I killed them," Ban said. I just can't remember what happened. In July 2012, Ban was found guilty of manslaughter. The prosecution accused Ban of being so obsessed with Vass that he killed him. He was given 2 life sentences with a minimum of 26 years in prison. At the sentencing, the judge said, "Exactly what happened will probably never be known. That creates an even greater burden for the 2 grieving families." The police said that they were not negligent for searching for Ban as they processed the crime scene. Number 2. Christine Schürrer. In 2006, 30-year-old Christine Schürrer and Torgen Hellgren had a short relationship. Hellgren met the 30-year-old Schürrer while vacationing on the Greek Isle of Crete. They had a passionate affair that lasted about 4 or 5 days, but they talked about meeting up again. Schürrer was originally from Hanover, Germany, and worked as a tour guide on the island. In the autumn of that year, Schürrer visited Hellgren in his hometown of Borga, Sweden. But the relationship didn't feel right to Hellgren, so he decided to break up with Schürrer. Hellgren broke up with her through text, saying that he didn't want to see her again. Schürrer did not take the breakup well. She called him many times and sent him multiple letters. She told him that he was the cause of her problems. She even tried to take her life while visiting Sweden. Hellgren saw this as an attempt to get his attention. He cared for her for a few days, and then he thought he was done with her. With Schürrer gone, Hellgren moved on and started a relationship with Emma Janstig. Emma was 23 years old with 2 children, Max and Saga. While Hellgren had moved on, Schürrer had not. Schürrer unexpectedly visited Arborga and discovered that Hellgren was living with Emma and her children. Schürrer eventually settled in the area and became a tour guide in Stockholm. She would write about Hellgren in her diary. One passage reads, "I hate what he did to me, took from me. It is difficult to describe. I have never felt this way before, but he has broken something inside me. I feel like he has chewed me up and spat me out." On March 17, 2008, Schürrer went to Emma's house. When Emma answered the door, Schürrer attacked her, hitting her 15 times with a hammer or hammer-like weapon. Schürrer then set her sights on Emma's children. Schürrer clubbed 1-year-old Saga and 3-year-old Max multiple times. The police found Emma and her children later that evening. Medical personnel rushed all 3 to the hospital, where the children died of injuries. Emma was injured, but in critical condition. Meanwhile, Schürrer boarded a plane back to Germany. The police started their investigation with little evidence. No DNA or murder weapon were found at the crime scene, and Emma could not speak. The police initially suspected that the children's father and Emma's ex-husband, 28-year-old Nicholas Janstig, was the attacker. The couple had an uneasy relationship, but they worked together to co-parent. The children often stayed with him on weekends. They had stayed with him the weekend before they were murdered. Nicholas found out that his children were murdered while he was in police custody. He later said, "The feeling that you get when you know that your children are dead and then you are the one accused of their murder is indescribable." Nicholas had to identify his children. He stayed with their bodies for 2 hours and wept. The police dropped the charges when another suspect emerged, Christine Schürrer. But when they went to question her, they discovered that she was gone. On March 20th, 3 days after the murders, the police issued an international warrant for Christine Schürrer. 2 days later, Schürrer, now back in Germany, somehow became aware of the warrant. She stopped a police officer and told him that she was the one they were looking for. When she spoke to the police, she denied being the attacker. The police continued their investigation, and they knew that she took a flight from Sweden to Germany on the night of the murders, and that she was romantically linked to Emma's current boyfriend, Torgny Hellgren. Several witnesses also saw a woman fitting Schürrer's description on the night of the murders near the crime scene. But the police had problems with the investigation. Notably, the murder weapon was never recovered. The police even searched the Arburgo River. Nevertheless, Schürrer was extradited from Germany to Sweden at the end of April 2008. She was held in a Swedish detention center even though she had not been charged with anything. Schürrer continued to deny any wrongdoing. She told the police that she was in Arburga to study some ancient ruins. However, Schürrer could not tell the police what route she took to see the ruins. They asked her to see some photos of the ruins. She claimed that she deleted the photos due to bad quality. A few weeks later, the police made progress in their investigation when they obtained Schürrer's laptop, cell phone, and pieces of her clothing. On July 23rd, the police charged Schürrer with murder and attempted murder. When the police submitted the charges to the court, they alleged that she used a hammer or hammer-like instrument repeatedly to beat the children and their mother on their heads and bodies. Schürrer pleaded not guilty at her July 2008 trial. The defense said that the case was based on circumstantial evidence and lacked DNA evidence. The best evidence that the prosecution had was footprints leading to the house. However, the footwear that made the prints was never found. The prosecution argued that Schürrer still wasn't over her breakup with Hellgren and took it out on his new partner and her children. According to the prosecution, Schürrer spent 2 months planning the attack. Schürrer's former landlord testified. She said that her hammer went missing a few weeks before the murders. Schürrer claimed that a month before the murders, she had given birth to Hellgren's child, but she gave it up for adoption. However, the police found no evidence that she was pregnant, gave birth, or put a baby up for adoption. The prosecutors called 56 people to testify against her. One of the main witnesses was the victim, Emma Janstig, who testified on the second day of the trial. Emma became emotional when she saw Schürrer. Emma said, "When I looked at the accused, I broke up completely because I recognized her as the woman who stood outside my door." The children's father, Nicholas Jagstig, testified on the third day of the trial. He talked about the humiliation of being accused of murdering his children. He also said that his children were, quote, butchered like animals, unquote. A memory expert also testified that day. He told the court that Emma suffered from aggravated memory loss and some information could be from reflection. The memory expert explained reflection as, if one thinks for enough time about something, it starts to feel familiar and ultimately becomes an autobiographical memory. The neurologist also testified and confirmed this information. On August 5th, Christine Schürrer took the stand. She talked about her failed relationship with Hellgren and its effects on her. She was evasive when it came to questions about the child she supposedly had with Hellgren. The prosecution also argued that Schürrer's journal entries and her internet searches proved that she was obsessed with Hellgren. She apparently visited his blog 230 times before the murders. The prosecutors also pointed out that Schürrer had a piece of paper with Hellgren's address on it, and she had lied about why she had it. At first, she told investigators that she didn't know why she had it, and changed her story to say that this was how he could be reached for a paternity test. Schürrer defended herself by saying, "You can't take what I've said in certain interrogations 100% seriously." In the following days, many of Schürrer's friends testified that she could not have been pregnant. One friend said that she had joked about disposing of the hammer at the airport. As the case continued into September, autopsy photos of the two murdered children became public. They were made available through the torrent site, Pirate Bay. Nicholas Jagstig requested that the site take down the photos, but the site refused, citing free speech. On October 14, 2008, Christine Schürrer was found guilty of murder and attempted murder. Before her sentencing, the panel of judges ordered a psychiatric evaluation to determine whether she was fit for sentencing. During the evaluation, Schürrer refused to answer questions about the murder, but she was deemed healthy enough for sentencing. Christine Schürrer was sentenced to life in prison. February 2009, a court rejected her appeal. The court also served her with a permanent deportation. In 2012, Schürrer was transferred to a women's prison in Germany, where she is still serving her sentence. Number 1. Christine Paolilla. Christine Paolilla was born in March 1986. She spent most of her childhood in suburban Long Island, New York. Christine's father, Charles, was a construction worker, while her mother, Lori, stayed at home with Christine and her older brother, John. Christine's mother called her very outgoing, outspoken, though shy at times. She was the apple of her daddy's eye. Charles Paolilla died in a workplace accident when Christine was just 2 years old. A stack of bricks landed on him while he was working on a high-rise in New York City. Lori told ABC News, "I had to go home and tell my children that Daddy won't be coming home anymore." A few months later, Christine's grandfather and great-grandmother passed away. When Christine started kindergarten, she was diagnosed with alopecia, a condition where people suffer irreversible hair loss. Christine would wake up with clumps of hair on her pillow. The condition also caused her to lose her eyebrows and eyelashes. To hide her condition, she wore wigs. Also, Christine had poor vision and wore thick glasses. The combination of the wig and glasses led her to being tormented by bullies. Classmates would pull off her wig. Lori Paolilla said, "It was so painful to watch. I can't even imagine really, truly, how she was feeling. As a mother, the pain of a child waking up in the morning thinking, what am I going to have to go through today? Who is going to hurt me today?" It was really difficult for her. Lori struggled after the tragic loss of her husband, and she eventually started abusing drugs. Lori's drug problems caused her to lose custody of her children temporarily. The young girl and her brother moved in with their grandparents. Christine would call her mother asking, "Can't I come home?" Lori eventually got clean, remarried, and got custody of Christine and John again. Her new husband was Tom Dick. The family then moved to Clear Lake near Houston, Texas. While Christine's early childhood was difficult, it turned around in high school when she met two friends, Rachel Coloroidis and Tiffany Rowell. Rachel and Tiffany were a year ahead of her at Clear Lake High School. Both the girls were pretty and popular, which boosted Christine's self-esteem. They had good intentions of helping Christine. Tiffany was a talented actress and aspiring social worker. Rachel was interested in art and creative writing. The older girls taught Christine how to dress and apply makeup. They also helped her buy better wigs. The girls also helped Christine to be voted Miss Irresistible in her high school class. She was so close to the girls that they were the only ones to see her without a wig. When Christine was 16 years old, she started dating Chris Snyder, who was 2 years older than her. Christine's mother and stepfather disapproved of Chris. Lori was uncomfortable with how Chris dressed, including spiky hair and body piercings. He also spent time in prison for armed robbery. Snyder was emotionally abusive to Christine. He isolated her from her friends and family. One time he pulled off her wig in front of her classmates. Christine was not well received by Snyder's family. Snyder's family called her the psycho for her obsessive behavior and crushing jealousy. Christine slept in the front yard when the couple fought, rattling the screen door to break in. Snyder frequently called the police on her. Chris Snyder's sister, Brandy, said, "She threatened to kill my mom, my dad, and even me. She was an absolute cancer to us." Christine demanded that Snyder have violent sex with her. She felt terrible that Snyder didn't have any friends and thought she could help him. But Christine's parents did what they could to prevent her from seeing Snyder. They grounded her, took away her car privileges, and attempted to put a restraining order on the boyfriend. By 2003, Christine was being pulled in opposite directions by her friends and family and her boyfriend. Tiffany and Rachel urged Christine to break up with Snyder, saying that she could do better for herself. Around 3:30 p.m. on July 18, 2003, Christine and Snyder went to Tiffany's house. After graduation, Tiffany and Rachel made large sums of money waitressing at a local strip club. With them were Tiffany's boyfriend, 19-year-old Marcus Ray Purcell, a cocaine and ecstasy dealer, and his 21-year-old cousin, Adilbert Sanchez. Christine and Snyder arrived at the house intending to rob them, which was Snyder's idea. Both were armed with guns. Soon after the pair arrived, Snyder got into an argument with Purcell. Snyder pulled out a gun and started shooting. Christine also pulled out her gun and started shooting. She shot Rachel in the buttocks as she tried to run away. Christine also shot both Rachel and Tiffany in the genital areas. Although Rachel had been shot 12 times, she was still breathing. Christine then took the pistol handle and used it like a hammer to club Rachel as she choked on her blood. After murdering the 4 people, she and Snyder took off. A short time later, another group of friends discovered the bodies and called the police. There was blood splatter everywhere. The police determined that 40 shots had been fired during the melee, and many of them hit their intended targets. The police noted that there was overkill with the female victims, suggesting intense jealousy from the shooter. Purcell and Rachel also suffered blunt force trauma along with the gunshot wounds. The police initially thought that the murders were drug-related, but no one suspected that a teenage girl had committed the atrocities. The police were unable to find a suspect, and the case went cold. After the massacres, Snyder and Christine went their separate ways. In November 2004, Christine was in rehab, and she met a man named Justin Rott. Rott was in rehab for heroin addiction. They got married 4 months after meeting. Christine had a trust fund left to her by her father. She and Rott used $360,000 from the trust to buy a condo. By 2006, both Rott and Christine were abusing heroin. One night in the summer of 2006, Rott and Christine were watching the news and there was a report about the unsolved murders. Christine got noticeably upset and thought that one of the sketches looked like her. Christine then confessed to her husband. She claimed that the robbery was Snyder's idea. She also said that she was surprised when Snyder started firing, and she started firing in a blind panic. Knowing that the police might be after them, Christine and Rott ran off to a hotel in San Antonio, Texas, and hid there for 7 months. They only left the hotel room to buy food and heroin. After the news story aired, Christine and Snyder were on the police's radar. 10 days before Christine and Rott ran away, the police received an anonymous tip. The caller said he had met Christine in rehab and she told him about the murders. The police traced Christine through her ATM activity and discovered that she was at the hotel. When the police found Christine and Rott, the hotel room was trashed. The room was smeared with blood, vomit, and dog feces. They also found about 100 syringes in the room. The couple was spending upwards of $500 a day on drugs. Christine was arrested in July 2006. When the police interviewed her, she admitted that she was involved in the murders, but she shifted most of the blame to Snyder. During a taped interview, Christine told the police that she was in the car when the shooting occurred. She claimed that she didn't hear the shots fired. Then Christine had to excuse herself from the interview because she felt ill. In the second recording, Christine said that a fight erupted in the house. But then she had to stop again due to feeling ill because of her heroin withdrawal. In her final taped interview, Christine then admitted that she was in the house when Snyder fired the shots while she held the other gun. Chris Snyder, now aware that the police were after him, fled Texas. The police received a tip that the murder weapons were at Chris's parents' house in Louisville, Kentucky. The police also learned that Snyder may have been hiding out in Louisville, but when they went to his parents' house, he was gone. In a safe, they found 2 handguns. The police learned that Snyder had fled to Greenville, South Carolina. Weeks after he was last seen, the police, with cadaver dogs, found the dead body of the 21-year-old man in a wooded area at Greenville. Snyder had swallowed a bottle of pills along with a soda. His death was ruled a deliberate drug overdose. Christine now had to face the charges alone. Her stepfather, Tom Dick, felt like Christine was a victim. "She was not capable of doing this," said Tom Dick. "There's no doubt in my mind. What's happened is a tragedy. She's as much of a victim as these poor kids. She's not the one that did this. The one that did this is gone." The prosecutor said that it was a drug raid gone wrong. Rod agreed to testify against his wife in exchange for drug charges being dropped. During her September 2008 trial, Christine pleaded not guilty. The defense team painted her as an unwilling participant in the murders, while Snyder was the main culprit. The prosecution accused her of taking part in a drug raid, even knowing that Christine washed the blood off her hands after the murders. Forensic analysts proved that both guns were fired simultaneously because two victims were shot while they were seated on the couch. The prosecution also pointed out that even though Christine claimed she feared Snyder, she called him over 1,100 times after the murders. On October 13, 2008, Christine was found guilty of 4 counts of capital murder. However, since she was a minor at the time of the crimes, she could not be sentenced to death. Ultimately, she was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 40 years to be served before she could be eligible for parole. Rachel's family felt like justice was served. Rachel's mother, Ann Coloroidis, said, "It felt good. I didn't expect it, that it would feel that good, but it did actually. It felt really good." Many people have questioned why Christine would murder her 2 closest friends. People who knew Christine said that she could be intensely jealous. The police believe that she was deeply envious of her friends. They said that the evidence of this was the overkill and that both of her friends were shot in the genitals. Psychiatrist Gail Saltz told ABC News, "I think there was a chance she thought that they were pitying her, but still envied them because they didn't have to work so hard to be nice, to be accepted. That's going to create some intense envy and jealousy, bring out the aggression, and the wish to punish them for what they have." Currently, 37-year-old Christine Paolilla is serving her sentence at the Christina Melton Crane Unit in Gatesville, Texas. The earliest she'll be eligible for parole is in 2046, when she'll be 60 years old. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please don't forget to check out our new channel, Paranormally Listed. There's a link on the screen now, and there's a link in the description box below this video. Well, that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.